Hello, hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and today I am so thrilled to finally share with you the whole entire Nolan collection. Yay! My friends, this collection has been a long time coming, and I will tell you the whole entire story in just a minute. But I do want to tease you a little bit to stick around until the end, where I'll be sharing some of my favorite styling techniques for this collection, as well as giving you a special little discount code. All right, so let's dive right in and talk about the inspiration. Every year I am so thrilled to participate in the Crochet Cancer Challenge hosted by Sweet Potato 3. This is a challenge to make crochet hats and donate them to charity. So every year I find this to be a special design challenge because I'm always looking for something that is unique and fun and beautiful so that the people who receive the hats feel really special. But on the other side of that, I know that those making the hats to donate are working to make a lot of hats so that they can serve as many people as possible. So I'm always trying to find a balance between beautiful and special and quick and easy. As I was pouring through my stitch guides looking for the perfect stitches to make the perfect hat for the Crochet Cancer Challenge last year, I kept coming back to the star stitch. The star stitch was one of those stitches that I had admired for a long time but thought, meh, it's just a little too complicated. But as it kept coming back in my brain, I thought, well, let's just take a deeper look and do some swatching. How complicated is it really? I was so thrilled to find out that it's really not that complicated and works up pretty quickly. It's got a really nice rhythm to it. So I worked this whole collection backwards, starting with the Nolan hat. The Nolan hat has a really fantastic combination of those star stitches and then working this braided stitch, which if you know me, you know it's one of my favorites. Also, if you've been around here for long, you know that I love a good fitted top to my hat. I don't ever just make a tube and scrunch it up. So I wanted some shaping at the top of the hat that was going to be really easy to do. So I was super thrilled to work some really nice but easy shaping at the top of the hat that also creates this really gorgeous spiral at the top. It's so much fun, so beautiful, and really easy to make. And because I'm a little extra, you know that my hat pattern needed to come with a slouchy, not slouchy, brimmed and brimless versions, so I added those in too. Once I had the hat down and all ready for the Crochet Cancer Challenge, I decided it was time for the cowl. I had already designed several cowls last year that were worked in the round and were just that really classic round shape with and without ribbing. But I knew for this cowl I wanted to go in a little different way. So when I saw this shape of cowl being modeled in a Pinterest pin, I knew that I needed to wrap my brain around how that was created and how I was going to make it easy for you to recreate too. The super fantastic news is that it is super easy. This shape looks really complicated, but it's just two flat panels that you seam together in a very special way. Once I figured out the construction of this cowl, I needed two stitches that worked together that could make the dual-sided texture. So we've got the star stitch on one side, and we've got this beautiful ribbed stitch on the other. I really loved this stitch combination because not only was it classic, but it mimicked the texture and the ribbing on the hat. And wouldn't it be so lovely if I just threw those stitches together and they worked out perfectly? No, that is not how it worked. After playing around with many stitches and swatching a whole bunch, I finally landed on the perfect combination of stitches to make a really nice cowl. Make sure you stick around to the styling section because I have several fun ways to wear this cowl, and it's completely reversible, but people have a little bit of a hard time wrapping their head around how you reverse it until I show you, and I'm gonna do that. I made two cowls to match my two hats. But then I had this crazy idea that maybe it would be fun to have a two-colored cowl. That way, you could not only have a dominant stitch on top and another one peeking out below, but you could also have a dominant color on top and reverse both of those anytime you wanted to. So I dug into my stash and found the perfect yarn. I had these gorgeous tweed skeins from Fatima of Aquarius Make, and they are stunning. I wear this cowl a whole bunch because I just love the option of showing off the purple or showing off the gray and then flipping it around. I really find that it is so versatile. I also have to say that one of the things I love so much about this cowl is not only the unique shape, but also that it is a really flexible cowl to wear. I often throw this on and wear it all day long when it's chilly outside, and I wear it outside and inside. When I put a jacket around this, it really helps to raise this up and keep me nice and cozy. But then when I'm inside, it has such nice drape that I can wear it around the house without getting too hot. So continuing backwards on our trek through the pattern tiers, I went ahead and designed the Star Stitch Cozy. Cozies are so quick and easy to make, but sometimes not quite as quick and easy to design. This guy took several tries and ended up being put on the back burner for a while, like a long while. Which is why this collection is just coming out now. I do really love this cozy so much though. It is the perfect way to master the star stitch and really get it underhand before you dive into the other tiers in the pattern series. The star stitch creates a really squishy fabric, which is really perfect for a cup cozy because when you're using a takeaway cup, you want the cozy to help keep your hands from getting too hot, and this stitch really does that. I also love how much this stitch allows hand-dyed yarns to shine. I know the first thing we think of when we think of cup cozy is not hand-dyed yarn, but I really do think if you have some leftovers, you're gonna want to use them in this pattern. As I've been talking here, you might be thinking to yourself, man, that stitch looks really familiar, but I've not heard it called the star stitch. Good news, you are not going crazy. This exact stitch is also called the marguerite stitch. So whether you see star stitch or marguerite stitch, they are the same thing. The terms are interchangeable, and once you learn one, you've mastered both of them. All right, so let's talk about my yarn choices and what you could possibly use to make these gorgeous patterns. Starting off with the Cup Cozy, I used 2 colors of Malabrigo Rios, and I love them both. Malabrigo Rios comes in skeins of 210 yards per 100 grams, and they are made of 100% superwash merino wool. I did exactly what I suggested and used some scraps that I had from other projects to create these gorgeous cozies. This one matches a hat and a cowl, and it's one of my favorite Malabrigo colors. This is Archangel, which is colorway 850. If you're looking for a really gorgeous neutral from Malabrigo, I mean, check that out. It's got the most gorgeous shades of brown and green and gray. It's really just stunning. This colorway is Tormenta, which is colorway 847. For my cowls, I used a variety of yarns, and they were all just spectacular. I started off with my favorite Malabrigo Rios in the color Archangel, just like the Coffee Cozy, and I definitely find myself coming back to this one again and again. It has really gorgeous drape, the most amazing color variation, and is so comfortable to wear. Last fall when I released these patterns, Twice Sheared Sheep was coming out with their new yarn line, and they reached out to me and asked if I would like to design with it. I of course said yes. You guys, I am so glad I did. This yarn is just beyond squishy. It's super nice to the touch, and I really enjoyed working with it. This is Twice Sheared Sheep's Everyday Merino, which is also a 100% superwash merino wool. And this gorgeous blue is the color Ocean. They have lots of really bold jewel-toned colors, which you know absolutely strikes my fancy. I must confess I was a teensy bit worried about how my designs would come out in this yarn because it is a bit thicker than the Malabrigo Rios. Everyday Merino has 185 yards to every 100 grams. While meeting gauge with this thicker yarn did create a thicker fabric, it is such a nice yarn that it still has really nice drape and is super cozy to wear. As I said before, I pulled from my stash for my two-toned cowl, and I chose a tweed yarn from Aquarius Makes. Unfortunately, this is not a yarn she carries anymore. I was even a little more nervous to work with this one because this is definitely more of an Aran weight yarn, so even heavier than the twice sheared sheep yarn, but it was really fun to play with, and it turned out super nice. Here's the difference. The significantly heavier weight of yarn makes this an even more sturdy cowl. That does mean that it's lacking in drape a little bit, but that's okay because when it's chilly outside, I want this to stand up nice and tight around my neck and ears, and this does the trick. I also was limited because I was pulling from my stash to only one skein of each of these colors, and because of that, I had to modify the size of the pattern just a little bit to make sure I didn't run out of yarn. Great news though, you can do this too because there are customization instructions in the pattern. All right, let's talk hooks. To make sure I had a nice squishy thick texture for the cup cozy, I used a USH 5mm hook. If you're going to make the whole collection though, you're going to want to keep that around because you need it for the brim on your hat if you're going to make a brim tattoo. To achieve a nice drapey fabric in the cowl, it's going to take a bigger hook. So we're going to go up a couple hook sizes to a USJ 6mm hook to work the cowl and the hat too. For the brimmed hat, you will need both your J 6mm hook to do the body of the hat and your H 5mm hook to do the brim. All right, let's talk customization. You know that I love to make these patterns as customizable as possible for you, and so I have given all sorts of tips and tricks in each of the patterns to help you customize these to be exactly the fit and shape that you want. The coffee cozy is worked flat and then seamed, so it is super easy to adjust the circumference of the coffee cozy to fit whatever cup you're using as your takeaway cup, whether that's a cup that's reusable, like my ceramic cup here, or the coffee cup that they use at your favorite takeout coffee place. If you like a big coffee, like I do, there are also tips in the pattern to expand the number of stitches that you work so that you can accommodate a larger and taller cup too. Customizing the cowl is a little bit mind-bending, and here's why. The cowl is worked in two long panels, so half of the panel is the star stitch and half of the panel is the ribbing underneath. But the panels are worked this direction, which means that if you want extra height on your cowl, you're going to add stitches, not rows. And conversely, if you want your cowl to be wider or more narrow, you're going to work more or fewer rows to make that happen. Because of the varying texture in the Nolan hat, it can be a little more challenging to customize, but I have given lots of tips and tricks on how to extend or shorten the height of your hat, and there are also tips in the pattern on how to expand or shrink the circumference of your hat too. All right, I want to save the best for last, so let's talk about styling your hat first. If you've seen some of my other styling videos, you know that lots of my hats have really interesting and sometimes reversible texture on the inside and the outside of the hat. With this hat, I find it to be a little less so. So with my slouchy hat, I find myself just putting it on my head, covering my ears, and then to avoid this very standy uppy part, I grab the bottom and smush it down to give me a really nice slouchy look. You could, however, if you were chilly, go ahead and pull this front down and fold it up for a double brimmed look. You can see the textures don't really match each other, and the inside maybe isn't the most beautiful texture, but if you're cold, you're not going to care. For the brimmed hat, I am very similarly just going to pull it up to the front and down to the back. Now, because I have a small head, my top stands up a little bit. That's okay. This is actually the fitted hat, which if you have a normal size head will be fitted on you. If you have a tiny head like I do, or you work the slouchy brimmed version, you can also always fold this brim up for a double brimmed look and super cozy ears. And unlike me, trim your ends. Holy cow. That's a long end. It's long because I haven't woven it in yet. I guess this needs to go back in my whip pile. All right, let's talk about styling this gorgeous cowl. I'm going to show you how to work the reversible nature of this cowl on my two-toned cowl because I think it's most clear with the two colors. So you have the right side of the star stitch pattern and the right side of the ribbed pattern. You're going to want to open your cowl up flat, and then whichever side you want the right side showing on the bottom of your cowl, you're going to have the right side facing out. Or you can think of whatever you want to be the right side on the top of your cowl, you're going to have the wrong side facing out. If I want my star stitch on top, I'm going to have the wrong side of my star stitch showing on top and the right side of my rib stitch showing on the bottom. The reason we have the wrong side showing is because then we're going to open this up and fold it down over the bottom half, and then you've got the right side of the star stitch and the right side of the rib showing. To do this in the opposite direction, all we're going to do is lay our cowl flat again, turn the whole thing inside out, which gives me the right side of my star stitch showing and the wrong side of my rib stitch on top, which of course means then when we fold the top down, we've got the right side of our rib stitch and the right side of our star stitch showing. So the most simple way you can change up the styling of this is by which stitch you feature on top. You can see that when I put the rib stitch on top, it is the most featured both on the front and the back as I wear it, and the star stitch and the purple just peek out a little bit on the side, which means when I flip it around and highlight the other stitch, it gives a totally different look and feel to the pattern. But featuring different stitches aren't the only way that you can wear this cowl. The way that I place the seam as I put this on these last two times is what has shaped the point in the front here. So my seams are to the side, which allows these points to be featured in front. It's almost like a little bandana. But then even in this one position, you can adjust how much they overlap. So if you want more of both sides to show, you can kind of pull them apart so that they overlap less, and then you've got kind of 2 points and both sides featured. If you really want your top side to shine, go ahead and tuck the other side underneath it, and you can again almost have 2 little points. But as you kind of pull this up on the inside, you can see the main feature is definitely this purple. Something fun is if you've got 2 colors, you can roll that second color up, and then you've got a really layered look there with the gray and the purple and then the gray peeking out the top again. Another way that you can change up the style of this is by simply changing where the seam is. So if I twist the whole cowl a little bit to the side, then I've got kind of an asymmetrical vibe going on instead of a bandana-ish point. But if I keep going, I can almost make those points disappear. And especially if you put this under a coat or a jacket, it will look like you just have a cowl of the single texture underneath your coat. If I turn the seam in the opposite direction, I get a totally different feel with almost like a sweater underneath and a really big collar on top. It's lots of fun. I hope these suggestions have helped you to think outside the box and be able to wear your cowl all the time. Thank you so much for joining me today and sticking around until the end. As promised, I have a discount code for you and a bonus discount code. If you are watching this video between April 25th and April 30th, 2024, you can use the code TEXTURE20 to save 20% off of any one pattern in the Nolan Collection. If you decide that you need 2 or all 3 of the patterns, then you can use the extra special coupon code of COZY25 to save 25% off 2 or 3 of the patterns in the Nolan Collection. Do keep in mind that this coupon code is only good April 25th through April 30th of 2024. There are links to all of the patterns in the description down below this video, so you can click on any of those links and use the coupon codes both on Ravelry and Etsy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy making the whole entire Nolan collection and that you feel confident as you expand your crochet skills. Happy crafting!